Fox News host Tucker Carlson got the green light from House Speaker Kevin McCarthy to look through hours of Capitol security footage from January 6th. Here's Tucker talking about it himself.
And January 6th, of course, is a transformative event in this country. It's been used to change the country. So there are about 44,000 hours. And we have, you may have read this today, been granted access to that. And we believe that access is unfettered. We believe we have secured the right to see whatever we want to see. So we've been there about a week. Our producers, some of our smartest producers, have been there looking at this stuff and trying to figure out what it means and how it contradicts or not the story that we've been told for more than 2 years. We think already that in some ways it does contradict that story. And so we're going to spend the rest of this week taking a look at it, assessing it as honestly as we can, and we're going to bring you what we find next week.
So that's a pretty massive cliffhanger. According to CNN, it was House Speaker Kevin McCarthy who granted Tucker unfettered access to the footage of the Capitol insurrection.
Democratic lawmakers are up in arms with McCarthy's decision, maintaining that all media, not just conservative Fox News, should have access. Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin took to Twitter yesterday saying, quote, McCarthy giving 40,000 hours of January 6 tape to a pro-Putin journalist is an astounding ethical collapse. What security precautions were taken to keep this from becoming a roadmap for 2024 insurrection? Why isn't it available to all media and public? Smell the MAGA propaganda coming.
There's no propaganda in there. Tucker is a pro-Putin figure. Look, so I agree. Everyone should get the footage. There's no special right there, in my view, for just Fox News to have access to it. I'd like to have access to it. All journalists should have access to it. I'm all about transparency and accountability. Government classifies everything. How many times have I complained about it? They don't want you to see. They don't want you to read. They don't want you to know. To hell with that. Everyone should see it, and they can decide for themselves.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I wish that Jamie Raskin didn't feel the need to undermine his own point by accusing everybody that he doesn't like of being Putin's bestie. But yeah, I think this is the same argument I've been making in a lot of other contexts. If you want there to be attention to an issue that you think is genuinely important, if you think there's genuinely perhaps some false narratives that have come out of 1-6, then you should want as many eyes as possible to be on the tapes. But if you want to promote your own counter narrative that might not be especially accurate, but it might be politically convenient to you, then you want exclusive dominion over the tapes. And so I think the public has a right to be skeptical over why it is that some people want to have those exclusive rights. Now, part of it is obviously it's a business. Fox News is a company. They want to have exclusivity to be able to draw viewers, et cetera. And that is a legitimate business interest, but I don't know that it's in the legitimate public interest or even necessarily
the issue here is not
interest.
Tucker wanting it exclusively. That's what all media organizations are going to want, scoops exactly like that. The government should just declassify, give the footage.
Yeah, why is Jamie Raskin complaining as though he is just an average citizen and not someone who can call upon probably, Democrats
well, and if the implication is that,
releasing the whole thing.
Is that Kevin McCarthy can do it because he's the Speaker of the House now, why didn't Nancy Pelosi do it?
Nancy Pelosi
right before? They had control of the House. They could have given it to, and then I would have complained if they were only giving it to their preferred journalists.
Absolutely.
But he just said all media should have access to that. Well, then give it. You could have done that.
Absolutely.
You could have done that, and they didn't. So they don't actually want real. That makes it hard to believe they want real transparency.
100%.
Well, meanwhile, Fox News hosts are in some hot water, according to people criticizing them, at least. New court documents reveal that household names, including Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham, badmouthed figures in the Trump sphere and conspiracy theorists like Sidney Powell that were part of the network's programming. According to the 192-page court filing in the Dominion Voting Systems defamation lawsuit, a slew of text messages, emails, and testimony given by Fox hosts unveiled that they were, in their private messages with each other, they were very critical of some Trump-aligned people, such as Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, etc. And so that's in the filings that were just released.
Yeah, they referred to them as ludicrous, dangerous, off the rails. They were more than just a little bit critical. The documents showed that despite the fact that the head of the network knew that these Trump figures were spreading falsehoods and making outlandish claims specifically about the election results and the results of Georgia in particular, they chose to put those people on the network anyway. And what the emails and documents revealed was that people like Tucker Carlson, frankly, knew that, did not believe the things that their guests were saying on the air. At times were frustrated by the fact that these people were saying outlandish things on the air, but understood that they were basically in a competition with folks like Newsmax, who they concerned would basically outflank them to the right, and that as a consequence, they wanted to continue to have these people on the air and spread the election with. And in fact, we're critical of folks at Fox who are willing to push back against some of the outlandish claims that were being made on the air. So, for example, at one point, Donald Trump tweeted, "Must see Sean Hannity take down of the horrible, inaccurate, and anything but secure Dominion voting system." Basically, so we should take a step back. The lawsuit is happening because people on Fox News were making accusations that the Dominion voting system company,
right, not the Fox hosts themselves, not the reporters,
right,
the guests they'd had on, which is why I think this is very.
Let me just finish this. The point that we're talking about is they're suing Fox News for having programming that spread what they say is defamatory accusations that they helped Joe Biden win the election. So one of the instances,
which is not true, to be clear.
Right.
Who knows?
So Donald Trump had tweeted that Sean Hannity had done a takedown of the Dominion voting system and how they were rigging the election basically for Joe Biden. A Fox News host, Jackie Heinrich, quote tweeted it and said, "That's not true. That's not what top election infrastructure officials said on the record tonight, that's not actually what was said on the show." She said, quote, "The November 3rd election was the most secure in American history. There was no evidence that any voting system was deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or in any way was compromised." So that's a Fox person doing the right thing, correcting the record from Donald Trump, who was trying to characterize it differently. What we know from these disclosures is that Tucker Carlson sent Heinrich's tweet to fellow primetime hosts Hannity and Laura Ingraham, writing, "Please get her fired. Seriously, what the F? I'm actually shocked. It needs to stop immediately, like tonight. It's immeasurably hurting the company. Stock price is down, not a joke." So he's mad at someone correcting the record accurately, doing good journalism, trying to correct the record of how Donald Trump is exploiting what he says the messaging on Fox News is.
Okay, but companies have various policies for in what ways, media companies, in what ways people who disagree with their colleagues or are supposed to comport themselves. So maybe you're not supposed to, if you're a news reporter for the organization, you're not supposed to call out
Donald Trump. Is Donald Trump now a member of Fox News?
The tweet was about Sean Hannity, so maybe it was perceived as they're not supposed to have that kind of interaction.
Right, but
this is something
she's not critical of Sean
reporters
Hannity
and opinion columnists go through at various.
But that's not at all what's happening here, Robby. Jackie is not being critical of Sean Hannity. She's saying that Donald Trump is mischaracterizing what was said on Sean Hannity's show. If anything, she's supporting the accurate reporting that came out on Fox News, in which an election official said that there was no evidence of wrongdoing. And in private, apparently because of concern that Fox News will be perceived as too in the bag for Joe Biden. Because remember, the background of this is also that Fox News was the first to call, Arizona for Joe Biden, and what many thought was a move that was prematurely ended some speculation about whether or not Donald Trump was really still in the race. And so they were trying to claw back credibility, and that's what you get a sense of in these private text exchanges, is that they were very concerned about being outflanked by Newsmax and other kind of conservative shows.
I get that they were very worried about, they have a very pro-Trump audience, and they were worried about alienating many of their viewers. But what I don't quite agree with is the thrust of the lawsuit, that putting on people who are making outlandish claims is necessary. Like you're supposed to let viewers decide to some degree. And Tucker did push back on Sidney Powell. He did a monologue where he said she has made these big claims on Fox, and we have asked her, where's the evidence? She hasn't given us one shred of evidence that any votes were changed by Dominion. So, and in fact, she stopped responding to our requests for that evidence. So I think there was pushback of this whole idea. So if the lawsuit is about, well, it was wrong to even have someone on who would say this, we're going to hold you responsible for interviewing someone who was wrong.
What I'm speaking to is not the lawsuit. We know what the messages were because of the lawsuit. But the story here is that both that the insiders at Fox knew and didn't believe, did not believe the commentary of their own guests that were coming on the show.
I don't think that's such a scandal or such a shock. We have guests on this show that I don't agree with.
If I could just finish, I completely disagree. I do not have guests on this show and do not welcome to talk to guests on this show and who are who I want to have on to spread a narrative that I believe is financially inconvenient for the Hill, even though I personally disagree with what they're saying, and I don't hold my tongue or keep having them on and offering a kind of measured pushback to them, because I know that the audience has an appetite for some insanity that I fundamentally believe is untrue and also potentially aimed at overturning a democratic election result. I think that's a very different thing. Now, you can say he offered some pushback, and I think he should get credit for that. And there's some weird way that I think it's good to know that he knows that these people are speaking nonsense. Like, it's somehow assuring to believe that he doesn't buy into the hype of these folks who are spreading outright, defamatory, frankly, comments about Dominion voting system. However, the part that's nefarious is to say, this is crazy stuff, but we still have to have them on, and I'm going to, in fact, criticize my own colleagues behind closed doors who are correcting the record and trying to have journalistic integrity, because I know that Fox News people coming out and saying, these people are crazy outright, these people are lying, this isn't what is, this isn't the truth, is actually bad for our brand, because our brand has to stay in this narrow, cozy zone where there's plausible deniability for any criticism of Trump, but we're still staying aligned.
Viewers had questions about these issues. They brought on guests who made sensational and unfounded claims that were eventually shown to be sensational and unfounded. So I don't see this as like the travesty of journalism or defamation on Fox's part that everyone else is making it out to be. And I don't think like trying to control the narrative is like your obligation.
I don't think it's necessarily defamation, but again, I'm not weighing in on the Dominion verdict. My interest in this story, and the reason there are all these stories that have been written about it, are separate and apart from the Dominion lawsuit. We know about this because of the Dominion lawsuit. Whatever happens there, happens there. Good luck, Dominion, whatever, that's your cross to bear. However, what is interesting is that there is an active gap between what Fox News hosts, at least some Fox News hosts, believe, what they think is actually credible journalistic information, and what they're willing to put on in order to
But the gap was between what they believed and what Sidney Powell believed, not what they believed and what they said. Because this isn't a question over things they said. It's a question over things guests said on Fox.
I don't know.
I think that's fundamentally different.
I don't know that I explained this right. Jackie Heinrich of Fox corrected a Donald Trump tweet that spread election misinformation. And Tucker Carlson says, please get her fired for doing that.
Yeah, like I said, you can't have it's practice at these media companies that you can't publicly confront the reporter people are not supposed to confront the opinion people. This is true of the Washington Post. Jackie didn't confront anyone. This is true of the New York Times.
Jackie confronted Donald Trump. I think that reporters are allowed to
the managers decided that it wasn't grounds for firing her over. They didn't fire her.
Right. So the story is not what the outcome was. The story is that Tucker Carlson attempted to use his power as the most, probably the person with the most juice at Fox News, the biggest show in the country, one of the biggest shows in the country at the very least, to get a reporter fired at Fox because she corrected Donald Trump's election misinformation.
I think
If you think that that's appropriate, if you think that that's a newsworthy criticism of Tucker Carlson and the gap between his public persona and his private, what he's willing to represent to the American people, and what he's doing behind the scenes. If you work at a media organization,
not just Fox News, you can't just randomly go off tweeting about other people at the company. That's true.
You keep saying that, Robby, and that is not what happened.
That is what happened.
Jackie Heinrich was critical of Donald Trump.
But he was talking about an episode of the Sean Hannity show.
Yes, he was saying Sean Hannity said X, and that was a lie. That Jackie Heinrich said, no, actually, on John Hannity's show, that was never said.
And Tucker said that was not the right way to engage the subject, and evidently Fox agreed.
No, Tucker Carlson did not say that's not the right way to engage the subject. Tucker Carlson openly argued that Fox News was going to lose credibility and lose ratings with respect to Newsmax because it wasn't showing enough fidelity to Donald Trump. This has nothing about respecting your colleagues. This is not an HR issue. This is about Fox News realizing that they are too critical of Donald Trump, particularly around these election issues. If they come out clearly saying that there is no evidence of election fraud, that they will lose viewership. Again, Tucker Carlson quote saying,
exactly what they ultimately said.
It stops immediately tonight. It is immeasurably hurting the company. The stock price is down.
Gave the fraud people the opportunity
The stock price is down. This is not a joke. This is in direct reference to Jackie Heinrich. Again, he didn't say this is going to hurt Sean Hannity's feelings. This is not a way you should conduct yourself with your colleagues. He says Jackie Heinrich saying that there was no evidence of election misconduct on Sean Hannity's show is going to hurt Fox News' stock price.
Yeah,
and you can either think that is completely fine and that news organizations should be running themselves in order to cater to what their stock price is instead of the truth and journalistic integrity, or you can think that this is a problem.
Well, have to let the viewers decide how outraged they are about that. We'll have more Rising right after this.